fate which will live in infamy.
こんにちは皆さん。私、修二と妻のエイリーンのチャンネルにようこそ。
Aloha! Welcome back. Today we're taking you with us to the historical USS Arizona Memorial. Tickets to the memorial are available via program reservation on recreation.gov. Tickets are free and reservations are released daily at 3 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time in 2 windows, 24 hours and 8 weeks in advance. However, we were so mesmerized by the beauty of Lanikai Beach that day we were actually supposed to try our luck on making an online reservation, and we totally forgot about it. Pearl Harbor National Memorial Rangers and volunteers cannot accurately predict standby availability or wait times, but from what we gathered, we might as well get there as early as we can so we can be allowed to get in as soon as an entry for standby visitors resume. We woke up at about 5 a.m. and got ready to go to the bus stop and wait for bus number 42.
And lo and behold,
when we got there, I realized I left my holo card, so we had to walk all the way back to the hotel and up to our room to pick up my holo card.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Finally, we were able to catch a later schedule of bus number 42. Bags, packages, or containers that offer concealment, such as purses, handbags, backpacks, fanny packs, camera bags, diaper bags, luggage, etc. that exceed the measurements of 1.5 inches by 2.25 inches by 5.5 inches are not allowed at the monument. The Pacific Fleet Submarine Museum operates a baggage storage facility near the entrance to the visitor center. There is a fee per bag for all sizes, including luggage. Visitors may use the same bag storage and parking stall for visits to all Pearl Harbor historic sites. Security measures are strictly enforced at all visitor destinations on Pearl Harbor. Only clear plastic bags, such as those allowed at football games, may be allowed inside.
She's there.
Nice. Gusto. Ikaw almost umiyak eh.
Siyempre. 3 main reasons for coming here. And for LCA.
Reason, mahirap na. I couldn't find it. I saw one shop in Chinatown. I don't know.
Named in honor of the 48th state, she was the second and last ship in the Pennsylvania class. United States ship Arizona, U.S. battleship that sank during the Japanese attack on the naval base at Pearl Harbor, Oahu Island, Hawaii, on December 7, 1941. "14 minutes after the first gunner plane interrupted the morning colors, the Arizona began to sink into Pearl Harbor. In those 14 minutes, a lifetime was at stake. Much of the country's Pacific battleship fleet was in flames. However, despite the raging fire and ravages of time, Some 500,000 gallons are still slowly seeping out of the ship's submerged wreckage. Nearly 70 years after its demise, Arizona continues to spill up to 9 quarts of oil into the harbor each day. The National Park Service estimates it could continue to leak for 500 years.
The 45-minute USS Arizona Memorial program begins at the Pearl Harbor Memorial Theater. It includes a brief introduction, a Navy-operated shuttle boat ride to the USS Arizona Memorial, and time to experience the memorial itself.
Now that we have the housekeeping measures taken care of, time to get down to the mental gravity of the location you're headed to today. The famous image of the Arizona exploding on the morning of December 7th is more than just the icon of America's entry in the most costly war in human history. The Arizona herself is the single greatest loss of life in the history of the United States Navy. On that infamous morning, Arizona lasted only 11 minutes into the engagement. At 8:06, a fatal bomb struck the Arizona. Penetrating 5 decks, it would detonate inside Arizona's forward magazine, where she was storing over 1 million pounds of black powder. In an instant, 1,177 sailors and Marines were cast into the pages of eternity. The fires that engulfed Arizona continued to burn until early morning hours of December 10th. Because of these fires, as you can imagine, casualty collection aboard the Arizona was almost impossible. Over 900 still reside aboard the Arizona, even to this day. Due to this, the Navy and the National Park Service treat the memorial similar to that of a national cemetery. Because of that, there are a few things I need to ask of you. First and foremost, if you have any electronic device from this point on until you return back to the visitor center, please refrain from using it except as a camera. Last thing to remember is your decorum on board the memorial itself. It is a place of quiet contemplation and reflection. Please help us to maintain that atmosphere while you're out there. Yeah, I have no idea who's going out there with you. It could be someone like myself, who has direct connections and ties to 7 December 1941. So please honor these individuals as if they were your own. One last thing to mention, our ranger out of the memorial has asked me to mention this. It is pretty windy on the memorial itself, so please be cautious. Use the railings as possible, 3 points of contact, as we like to say in the military. And one last thing, when you go aboard the memorial itself, it does have marble floors, and we've had rain in the past 24. So please be cautious. I do not need anyone taking up any more flying lessons this week. I've already had a couple earlier this week that have caused me to lose a few heartbeats, maybe have created arrhythmia during this week. If you guys can do that for me, that'll be greatly appreciated. That being said, your Navy boat is ready. You have 4 doors down here and a single door up top. Upon your exit, please hook to the left. The Navy boat's waiting at the dock. Have a great morning, everyone.
I thought really watch more.
Underneath a shorter bench towards the middle of the boat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Long benches can hold up to 5 people, so if you have room.
As a special tribute to the ship and her lost crew, the United States flag flies from the flagpole, which is attached to the severed mainmast of the sunken battleship. The 184-foot-long memorial structure spans the mid-portion of the sunken battleship and consists of 3 main sections: the entry room, the assembly room, a central area designed for ceremonies and general observation, and the shrine room, where the names of those killed on the Arizona are engraved on the marble wall. In 1962, a memorial to those killed in the attack was built on top of the sunken ship. Unlike many other ships attacked that day, Arizona was so irreparably damaged that it was not repaired for service in World War II. The shipwreck still lies at the bottom of Pearl Harbor beneath the USS Arizona Memorial. Many of the bodies remain down there because of the intense fire, twisted metal, and inaccessibility of the ship. At the time of the attack, identification or retrieval of the bodies was pretty much impossible.
This memorial honors the fallen crew of USS Arizona and all those who died in the attack on December 7, 1941. The remains of over 900 Arizona crewmen rest beneath you within the sunken battleship. Just ahead is an open area where you can look down onto the ship. The shrine room beyond displays the names of the 1,177 Arizona crewmen lost in the attack. Another list honors Arizona survivors who have rejoined their shipmates in the waters below.
I don't think you can hear me back here. If you'd like to drop us a flower in memory of the sailors and Marines, I do have some. Just come see me and grab one.
It is from this opening that visitors can pay their respects by tossing flowers in honor of the fallen sailors. Since it was formally dedicated in 1962, every U.S. president has made a pilgrimage to the memorial, presenting a wreath and scattering flowers over Arizona in honor of the Americans who perished there. On December 27, 2016, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited the memorial with President Barack Obama and paid respects to fallen service members there. Abe is the first Prime Minister of Japan to visit the USS Arizona Memorial, 75 years after the Japanese attack. The visit was hailed by President Obama as a historic gesture of reconciliation.
The Arizona is unique among America's World War II battleships. For one, it was never salvaged. Today, the wreck remains visible, just 40 feet below the water's surface. Lou Cotter, a 101-year-old Californian, is now believed to be the only living survivor among the Arizona crewmen who escaped the inferno that Sunday morning. Only 93 of those who were aboard the ship at the time lived. 242 other crew members were ashore. The USS Arizona was designed by Alfred Preis, an Austrian-born architect who was sent to a U.S. internment camp after the Pearl Harbor attack. His simple design features a concave silhouette, with the middle representing the country's low point following the attack and the raised end symbolizing victory.
Japan's bold plan. Why strike Pearl Harbor? Japan was planning to launch a sweeping campaign of conquest to secure oil reserves and other resources it needed. It would invade vast areas of Southeast Asia and the Pacific in a series of surprise attacks. To keep America from interfering, Japan would first attack Oahu to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The plan was complex and risky. It required intense training and new types of weapons. Surprise was crucial. Japan brought together the largest aircraft carrier strike force ever assembled. It had to sail undetected, 4,000 miles across the Pacific under strict radio silence, then attack swiftly. A fleet of submarines would surround Oahu to protect the carrier force and sink escaping ships. Midget subs would slip into Pearl Harbor and launch torpedoes. Second wave, 8:54 a.m. Japanese pilots now faced fierce resistance. Bursts from anti-aircraft fire filled the sky or significantly damaged 21 vessels and over 300 aircrafts. More than 3,500 people were dead or wounded. Honoring the dead. Boats plied the waters before you to search for survivors. Recovery teams braved the ghastly task of collecting human remains. Many received quick burials in temporary graves. Others ended up in local cemeteries. After the war, many families had their loved ones returned to the mainland. The National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific at the Punch Bowl received others. Most who died on the Utah and Arizona received the honor of a final resting place within their sunken ships. Raising ships. Lifting spirits. Recovery work began at once. Navy and civilian teams mounted a heroic effort, on a scale never before attempted, to restore sunken ships to service. Salvage workers faced many hazards: jagged metal, explosions, toxic fumes, fuel oil foul ship interiors. Air reeked of decaying bodies. Divers worked in murky water to find blast holes. Shipyard workers devised huge patches to cover holes. Salvage teams righted and raised ships using concrete patches, pumps and coffer dams, air-filled pontoons, and vast arrays of cables and winches. Of the 21 vessels sunk or damaged, all but 3, the Utah, Oklahoma, and Arizona, rejoined the fleet. Moored inboard, the Tennessee stayed afloat. Moored outboard and vulnerable to torpedoes, the West Virginia sank. Remember Pearl Harbor. Work, fight, sacrifice. Rear Admiral William R. Furlong, commandant of the Navy Yard at Pearl Harbor, with his team on board the Oklahoma, the last ship raised. Furlong played a critical role in the salvage effort led by Captain Homer Woollen. Waterfront Memorial is located in the Museum Park of the USS Bowfin. This memorial commemorates the 52 American submarines which sank in the Second World War and the more than 3,500 crew members who were killed. Each stone represents a sunken submarine. Written on it is a brief history of the submarine, and the names of the servicemen who fell.
And one last thing, take the opportunity to make these memories. As equally important, please share these stories. Only through us sharing these stories do these men still live on. So hopefully in that regard, these men shall never have died in vain.
このビデオを見てくれてありがとうございます。ぜひ YouTube チャンネルに登録お願いします。また新しい動画が見れるように通知ベルをクリックしておいてください。次のセッションでまたお会いしましょう。
If you enjoyed watching, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you hit that bell button, which is right next to the subscribe button, you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, all of the links down in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye!